Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. Today's show is called Getting It Right, and that is because it is going to be somewhat of an uphill battle for you to try to get something right this week, because the planets are in challenging positions. But there could be a way to get around that a little bit too. So first of all, I'll describe a challenging situation that is going to occur for all of us, and that is because there are 5 planets that are in only 2 of the mutable signs, and they are heartily squaring each other. The problem is that the mutable signs are very agreeable usually, and they get along pretty well with everybody. The 4 mutable signs are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. But there's 5 planets in just 2 of these signs, so they're really squaring each other. And that's where you can run into trouble. That is because the moon today is conjuncting Jupiter in Gemini. Well, that's nice. That's very good for the things that Gemini rules, except the problem with sort of getting it right now is that there are 3 other planets plus the north node of the moon in Pisces. And they are squaring the planets in Gemini. And they are Saturn and a retrograde Mercury and also a retrograde Venus, which are all in Pisces, and they are all in the last decan of Pisces, which is subruled by Mars and Pluto that rules Scorpio. And the lucky north node of the moon is there as well. Pisces is loaded with good planets right now, but they're all being squared by other good planets, the moon and Jupiter in Gemini. By itself, that's a pretty big problem, but it gets a little bigger because these planets in just these 2 mutable signs are also squaring and opposing the other mutable signs. So there's nothing in Sagittarius and there's nothing in Virgo, but they're going to have a problem getting something right this week too, because 5 planets are squaring and opposing their signs. So that's not good. So you might get stuck in a sticky situation this week that you're sort of trying to get it right, but it isn't really going to be resolved right now because not enough people are in agreement. They're all coming from their own point of view, and they're challenging each other rather than agreeing with each other, and so that leaves you stuck somewhere. And so you still have to try to get things right. But while you are stuck in this challenging situation that you can't really get out of at the moment, there could be a way around it a little bit. It wouldn't negate the situation that you're in. You're going to be stuck in a sticky situation this week. I think everybody's going to be in one way or another. But by themselves, these 5 planets that are in only 2 mutable signs, by themselves, are being trined by other planets. So while you're waiting to get out of a sticky situation that, you could be trying to get something right and it just isn't quite gelling right now, while you're waiting for that to be resolved, there may be a way that you can still succeed in something else. And that is because, let's take that moon and Jupiter, which are conjuncting in Gemini. Well, they are being beautifully trined by Pluto in Aquarius. And Pluto in Aquarius is in the sign of the future. And Pluto rules people in upper management that've got their eyes on the future, and they can be perhaps willing to talk to, Gemini rules communication, willing to talk to people who might want to consider working part-time or in a short-term or temporary endeavor in order to get something off the ground. Maybe it's something that's just starting up. So that could work. But these 3 planets are also trining the 3rd air sign, Libra. And that simply means that and since Libra rules peace and partnership and compromise, love, marriage, the law, and all legal contracts, there is the possibility that you could pick up a new partner, because that's what Libra rules, and that new partner might be somebody who's really got their eyes on the future and is willing to sort of talk and discuss things with you. Gemini rules communication. And so there could be some good give and take there. And that's one way that by picking up a new partner right now for a future project, even if you are stuck in a sticky situation right now that hasn't quite been resolved yet, you would still be heading in the right direction. I suggest you spend some of your time on that because that's favorable. The other 3 planets that are in Pisces right now, squaring the planets in Gemini, are also by themselves being trined. That means they're being backed up and fortified by another very strong planet, Mars, which is in Cancer. And Mars is trining Saturn, another malefic planet. That's wonderful because they're working very well together. Mars is energy and Saturn is determination. That's a pretty good combination. And then a retrograde Mercury and a retrograde Venus and the lucky north node of the moon are also in Pisces in the last decan, which is near the end of the sign, and that they're all being ruled by the Mars and Pluto that rules Scorpio. Well, all 4 of these planets are also trining the sign of Scorpio, which is excellent because Scorpio rules money coming in from any other source. So while you're waiting to resolve a sticky situation and you're trying to get something right, there is the possibility that you could also have some more money coming in right now. It might come through an insurance claim that pays off because that's what Scorpio rules. Or it could come from a better credit rating. Scorpio rules that too. Or some sort of restructuring of a debt load that you have that could make it a little bit easier for you to handle the debt. That too is ruled by Scorpio. So you see, there are ways that you can sort of sidestep or get around a very difficult situation this week that you're trying to get right, but it seems to be stalled for one reason or another. But by themselves, these planets that are challenging each other in the mutable signs are doing okay on their own. And so this is a time when you really need to sort of keep your eyes on the future at the same time that you're getting stuck in something that is a little sticky right now in the present. Well, I've mentioned 7 planets in these signs, but there are 3 other planets now because there's 10 up there, and they are what I would call absolute duds. They are planets that are going nowhere. They're being challenged. You couldn't get it right if you tried with these planets. So I will tell you what they are because it's a pretty good idea to avoid them right now. They're not going to do you any good. The first one is Uranus. It's the only planet in an Earth sign. It has no backup. There's nothing in Virgo. There's nothing in Capricorn. And it is being soundly squared by that powerful Pluto in Aquarius, which does have a lot of backup from the planets in Gemini. And so this Uranus in Taurus, which is a malefic planet, and it represents rebellion and eccentricity and volatility and sudden surprising change. You never know what to expect from it. Well, it's in a fixed financial sign that has absolutely no support. So if you were thinking of making big changes in your financial portfolio in any way, I would advise you to stay away from that. You won't get any help. If you are getting help from somebody, I wouldn't trust it right now because there's no backup there to that planet. So that's why I'm saying Uranus in Taurus this week, it's a bit of a dud. You're just going to have to sort of sit and live with whatever it's doing and try not to make big changes in your financial fortunes right now. You might want to try to settle a sticky situation. That's getting it right. But I wouldn't take a gamble with anything right now. You actually would not win it. So don't try it, no matter how lucky you feel. The other 2 planets that are absolute duds right now are both in the same sign, and it's where we had the solar eclipse last week, because the sun is in Aries and so is Neptune. And they have absolutely no support. There's nothing in the other fire signs of Leo and Sagittarius. And on top of that, they're in the same sticky situation that Uranus was in, because Uranus was being harshly squared Well, so are the Sun and Neptune in Aries. They are being harshly squared by that powerful Mars in Cancer that is doing just fine because it's backed up by all the planets in Pisces. And so Mars is Aries ruler. And so people who want to make a new start and can be kidding themselves about something are going to get a rude awakening in one way or another now. They could be kidding. Neptune is a planet where you can kid yourself, or it rules deceptions and omissions. And it's in Aries with no support whatsoever. And neither is the Sun. And so you could have been kidding yourself about a new beginning that was all going to go your own way and was all going to work out just perfectly. And it's just a dud. It's not going to do that. And it doesn't mean that getting it right is not achievable. But you have to pick your moments right now. And I think that you could get, since there are 5 planets in mutable signs squaring each other, so people who are usually agreeable are not as agreeable as they usually are. Well, that can make a sticky situation. So you might get stuck in a sticky situation right now. But while you're waiting to get out of it, you can do well with the trine of planets in the air signs, the trine of planet in the water signs. You cannot succeed in anything that is speculative, or where you're sort of betting on something, or you think that, oh, if something worked before, it'll work again. I wouldn't try that. Just try to. The only way I think to get through this week is to take small steps. You could take a small step that might get you some more money. You could take a small step by forming some sort of new partnership, even if it's on a short-term or temporary basis. Okay, that's progress. That's getting it right. But the real sticky situation in your life is going to be a little bit harder to resolve. I think you're going to have to live with that for a while. All right, what does this mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Aries. Well, Aries, for you, you had that wonderful solar eclipse in your sign last week. It wasn't very well supported, though. Last week it was squared by your own ruler, Mars. Same thing this week. And on top of that, you actually had more planets in your sign last week, 4 of them. Now you have just 2, the Sun and Neptune. And so I would say, Aries, that you have been kidding yourself about something. Now, I think that what you might have been kidding yourself about is a dream that you have had of sort of being first at something, or of getting what you want, or being able to move forward on your own terms. This is what an Aries would like to do. Aries is an energetic fire sign. They don't mind getting out there and being first. They have a pioneering spirit. And so, your heart could be in the right place, Aries, but nothing else is. And so you really have got to sort of stick it out with some sticky situation that possibly can be resolved if people decide they're going to be a little more agreeable with each other. But in the meantime, while you're waiting for that, I think that you'll have to re-examine your motives for doing something. If you are thinking that, you're going to just do everything all on your own terms and you're going to get your own way, because you've been successful doing that before, it's not going to happen this time. And the reason why is, well, we all need some support in our life, and your sign just doesn't have any. And so I would suggest that you spend your time more wisely by going over your plans and almost trying to look for where the holes are. Or look at the timing. Maybe your timing is off on something. Or if you're just assuming that everything that you've done before that was successful is going to be successful again, then you're not taking into account whatever's happening in the rest of the world. I suggest you do that, Aries, because the world has changed. And even if you haven't, others have. And that is going to have an effect on you. And it could somewhat eventually result in a defeat if you don't re-examine your motives for doing something, or how you do it, or your timeline for it, or something like that. So I think this is a good week for you to simply review things. But I wouldn't take another step forward right now, Aries, You could hit quicksand instead. Don't do that. Okay? All right, what does it mean to a Taurus? Well, Taurus, you're a little bit in the same boat. Uranus is in your sign, and it has no support at all. There's nothing in Virgo, there's nothing in Capricorn, and on top of that, that Uranus which is very unpredictable and rules sudden surprising change, it is being soundly squared by Pluto in Aquarius, the sign of the future. So there is a conflict somewhere in your life, Taurus. I don't know if it's a financial conflict, but it can be tied to a financial matter in one way or another. And it might be something where you need to rethink something, Taurus. If you have been talking about a financial matter, maybe that's fine. If you've been researching it or going over it or reviewing your records or whatever, that's fine. But if you are having to sign on the dotted line, I would not do that right now, Taurus. In fact, I wouldn't do that in the future either. Pluto is in Aquarius, and it's in the sign of the future. It represents people in upper management that are moving on into the future. It's going to be squaring your sun, opposing the Leo sun, and squaring the Scorpio sun for years to come. And since it has no backup whatsoever right now, as much as, a Taurus believes in how hard they work and getting results for how hard they work. Nothing wrong with that. But I don't see anyone else that is in agreement with you at the moment. That should not be a reflection on your talent. You've got talent. It's almost like it has nowhere to land right now. And so you need to just sort of look at your financial situation, and I wouldn't make big promises right now, and I wouldn't change anything, and I wouldn't sign on a dotted line anywhere right now, Taurus. If you have to do anything, try to be a little bit more frugal and careful with your money, and keep it a little closer to you, just for safety's sake, if you can. Good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Gemini. Well, Gemini, in a way, you could have the best of both worlds, because the moon today, which rules our emotions and our feeling, and it rules women, is in your sign, and it is conjuncting Jupiter, a planet of goodness, which is also in your sign. And those are being trined by Pluto in Aquarius. And so that means that these three planets altogether are also trining the sign of Libra, which rules partnership and legal contracts and the law and compromise and diplomacy and love and marriage. And so Gemini, I think that if you were your sign is the sign of the middleman or the agent, or the person who's pretty good at connecting other people and sort of getting results for that. And so the Geminis thrive on short forms of communication, which is what your sign rules. And it also rules short trips, which you generally succeed at very, very nicely. But because Pluto is in Aquarius and trining the two planets in your sign, it means that somewhere in your life, Gemini, there is somebody around who's pretty powerful. They've got their eyes on the future, and they've got their eyes on you, believe it or not. It could be somebody from your past that is thinking, oh, well, now we want to go in a new direction. I wonder if that Gemini would like to come with us. Well, think it over, Gemini. Maybe you would like to try something new. This will be an excellent time to do it. The reason why I suggest you do try something new, and possibly with a new partner, even if it's only in a short-term project of some sort, it is because Saturn and the north node of the moon and Mercury, your own ruler, which is retrograde in Pisces, and Venus, which is also retrograde in Pisces, are all squaring your sun. And so somewhere in your life, Gemini, you're in a sticky situation where people who are generally, and these could be people sort of behind the scenes that not everyone knows about, where people behind the scenes who can usually be pretty mild-mannered and flexible and nice about things, they're not feeling like that right now. In fact, they may be feeling as if they've made a mistake and now they need to get something right, whether you agree to it or not. This doesn't necessarily mean that they want to fight with you, but it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone's in agreement with what you want to do either. So you have to look out. And Gemini, even though you're under good aspects because there are planets in the air signs trining your sign, which means you could form a new partnership, that would be pretty nice. Or there's also the possibility that some person or some goal or somewhere that you used to live can be calling to you, and you can be deciding, well, gee, I'd like to get a little closer to that, to things that I loved, that I was familiar with from the past, in one way or another. Saturn rules the past, and also Mercury, your ruler, and Venus are both retrograde. You may want to go back to something that you loved before, or someone that you loved before, or doing something that you loved to do before. You probably would have a chance for that, even if it represented some sort of sticky situation at the moment. There's a possibility with a new partner that you could work that out in a congenial way, that could work out for you. So don't give up on anything right now. We are all trying to get something right this week, and we're all going to get stuck in some sort of sticky situation that isn't going to be resolved at the moment. But while we're waiting for it to get resolved, we can make plans to go in new directions. And you're certainly aspected to succeed at that, so good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, Cancer, Mars is still in your sign. Oh boy, you must have been sort of eating your Cheerios in these last few months and been really energized. It's been in your sign for quite a while, Cancer. And it is squaring one sign that it rules, the sign of Aries. So it's got sort of a knockout punch right now because it's squaring the Sun and Neptune in Aries, which means somebody who's wanting to make a new start may have been kidding themselves either about the goals in the project or their ability to achieve everything their own way instead of working a little bit more cooperatively with others or something like that. And so that Mars in your sign, Cancer, is so strong because it's being trined by all the planets in Pisces. And together they all trine the sign of Scorpio. Mars is one of Scorpio's rulers, which is in your sign. So Mars isn't retrograde, and so I think, Cancer, that you have your mind and maybe some determination right now, and you have the energy too, to go forward with a plan of yours. And it could involve a move, since your sign does rule moving, and summer is coming. So you may be deciding to do that. I would say that it'll probably work out fine, unless it's something that's totally new to you, and then you might have a problem with it. And so if I were you, as I'm telling everyone else this week, if you want to get something right, take small steps. Even if it looks like it's all going your way. And all the planets in Pisces are trining your sun together. The three in Pisces and Mars in your sign are all trining Scorpio, which means there can be more money coming your way, Cancer. For one reason or another. And another way that you could think about that is that some of your expenses in your budget may not be as high as they used to be. Why, I don't know, because most people are suffering from prices that are going up. But some of your expenses may have been cut down a little bit. You may actually be profiting from that. So that would be good too. So if you can cut your costs anywhere, this is sure the time to do it. That would benefit you. And remember, we're trying to benefit ourselves either through the help of new partners or a new legal agreement or through more money coming our way while we're waiting for a sticky situation to clear up that we can't really get out of right now, but we probably could in the future. And then you also have to be aware of the fact that there are planets that are duds right now. They're not going anywhere. And two of them are being squared by that Mars in your own sign, and that's the Sun and Neptune in Aries. And Mars is a ruler of Aries. But Neptune rules kidding yourself. and it rules dreams too, but it still rules kidding yourself. And if you were thinking, for some reason, of repeating a past mistake, that would be a major error, Cancer. And also, you don't need to do it. You could pick up a new partner, or try a temporary project, or you could move back to a place that you lived in before, or a home, like your childhood home, or near that, and it would just work out just fine. So just take small steps, and you should be okay. Somebody else who's wanting to make a new start and maybe wanting you to be involved with it is really kidding themselves, and I would not commit to that, Cancer, because they haven't thought it through clearly enough, or it's something that where they're thinking that they can rely on their past performance or their past ideas of how things work. They are not taking into consideration the way the world has changed. And so you need to do that. And I think you will, so good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Well, Leo, this is a time, Leo, when I think that you have to be a little bit careful. And the reason why is because even though the Sun, which is your ruler, and Neptune are in Aries, and they're trining your Sun and the Sagittarian Sun, they're in no man's land right now. They are two planets that are sort of duds right now. That's a real surprise to everybody, because they have no backup. There's nothing in the other fire signs, so there's nothing in your sign, Leo. And yes, the Sun and Neptune are trining your Sun, but this is a time, and since it is a trine, when you could fall for a lot of blue sky right now, Leo. And I think it would be a little more blue sky than, it would be sort of hype, but no substance. Or somebody could say they have a great idea, but no real plan. And even worse, no budget. Okay, so you could listen to something that sounds like it would be a sure thing and a good gamble, and why not? And believe me, if you try it, you're going to lose your shirt, Leo. Don't do that. And the reason why is that Uranus in Taurus is squaring your Sun, and Pluto in Aquarius, which rules the sign of the future, is opposing your Sun sign. These are two very powerful planets. Pluto's the slowest planet in the whole universe. I mean, talk about how you can hardly notice it because it's just creeping along all the time. But that's what makes its power build and build and build. And it's going to be opposing your Sun sign probably for the next 15 or 17 years. And so if you're going to fall for somebody's blue sky or some new adventure or new idea that comes up, and if they say, oh, this will work because I'm going to do this and you can do that and blah, blah, blah. And that's what it'll be. It'll just be talk, talk, talk. No budget, no money, no outlook for whether it would be profitable or not. Somebody just wants to sort of show off and be a leader. And Leo, your sign is a sign that rules leadership. But somebody else is wanting to take over that role. And they're not going to make it. But you may not make it either. And so this is a better time for you to sit back and re-examine whatever anybody is saying to you. Even re-examine your bank records and your investment records and your tax records. Because there could be something real important that if you miss it, it'll cost you money. And so that's why you need to be very, very careful right now. I wouldn't take a gamble on anything. This would be a better time, Leo, for you to finish something up, not to start something new. Because those two planets in Aries that rule new starts have got serious problems of their own right now. They can't be of much help to you even though they are trining your Sun. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, yours is a mutable sign, so there aren't any planets in your sign. Uranus in Taurus is trining your sign. You could have your mind on your investments, Virgo, or on how you want to manage your money right now in these somewhat unstable economic times. Well, I can see why you'd be paying attention to that. That's a good thing to pay attention to. And it would be good if you were extremely conservative and not too active in the financial markets right now. They're not settled. They haven't hit a bottom, but they haven't hit a top either. Nobody knows which way they're going to go right now, Virgo. So you shouldn't be putting your money in thinking that you're going to make a fortune right now, because even if you've got it all, even if you've got all the math figured out right, no one can quite predetermine the economic conditions of other nations in the world that could affect your money or your job or your health. So I wouldn't take any chances right now, Virgo. And on top of that, the strong planets in Pisces are actually all opposing your sun sign. So this is not the time for you to fall for any blue sky, Virgo. No matter how good it sounds, do not fall for it. Unless you are involved in one way or another with somebody that you've known before, or you might have gone to school with them, or they're from your past, but that you had a favorable relationship with, or a good friendship with them, or something like that. Venus is retrograde in Pisces. It's opposing your sun sign, but that can sometimes mean that true love comes back to you because it's retrograde. Now, maybe this is a time in your life, Virgo, where that doesn't count too much anymore, because maybe you've changed, or you've moved on, or we all get older. Everybody gets older, so we got to take that into account too. So anyway, Saturn and a retrograde Mercury, and Mercury's your own ruler, and a retrograde Venus and the lucky north node of the moon are all opposing your sun sign, and the moon and Jupiter itself in Gemini are squaring your sun sign. There's nothing in your sign, Virgo, but it's getting hit by 5 planets that are not getting along right now. And that could be very frustrating to you. Virgos think that if they got the numbers right, and they add up, and they explain things logically, that people will listen. But that isn't the situation we're in. It is very hard to get something right now, because people are not in agreement. And so, even though they're normally agreeable people, they're not in agreement now. And you aren't either, Virgo. So this is a better time either to go on vacation or sit something out. And I would suggest you do that, Virgo, by getting busy either on improving your own health, because your sign rules health. So that's, if you want to get in more shape because summer's coming, that's a good idea. Or if you want to lose a few pounds, great, you should do that. That means you'd be helping yourself, and you'd be improving yourself. Well, that's a good idea, Virgo. You need to do that. But on the other hand, if you think you're going to fall for somebody else's blue sky, or you're being very convinced by somebody who's returning from your past and saying that, oh, everything will be beautiful now, I would stay away from that, Virgo. Somewhere, something's not right. Or somewhere you're only getting half the story, not the whole story. And so if I were you, I wouldn't do too much. Remember, for all of us, even though we can profit by the planets in the trining in the air signs and in the water signs, we still cannot resolve a sticky situation that we're all pretty much caught in. And even though we're trying to get something right, it's not quite working right now. You just got to wait that out a little bit, Virgo. And on top of that, it would be better if you didn't jump in and get involved in some sort of messy argument or idea or unfounded facts that somebody's trying to throw at you. Your sign rules solitude. Well, stay home and clean the house, Virgo. You probably need it. You could do your spring cleaning this week. Believe it or not, you'd have something good to show for it, and you wouldn't have to argue with anybody. And that would be a good way to still be trying to get things right and not run into opposition from anybody as well. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Well, Libra, this is a time, Libra, when you might be shocked, maybe really surprised by somebody who sort of comes out of the blue, who is in some sort of a powerful position, and suggests that you join them in their future plans. And they could be business plans, They could also be experimental plans. Aquarius rules things that are ahead of their time. Or they rule good ideas, but they need to be sort of reinvented, or they need to be tested. Or Aquarius rules invention too. Aquarius rules flight, and it rules everything to do with flight and with space and computers. And you know, if somebody came along and said, hey, would you like to sort of join us for a while? It could be just temporary or part-time. The moon and Jupiter and Gemini are trining your sun, and somebody who has the power, and not just the authority, because they're pretty high up in management, but they have the power of the purse. They could afford to hire you, is what I'm saying, Libra. If they say, hey, would you like to join our team and try this out? In other words, they're not promising you something forever, but they don't know how it's going to turn out. Only they think you have talent and you can help them succeed at that. You know, an invitation from somebody right now for you to join a group, that would be based on their assessment that they have already made of your talent, and they do think you have talent, or they wouldn't be asking you to join them. That's the truth. So you have the ability to form a new partnership right now, and it is something that could be very beneficial to you in the long run. In other words, it could start out as a sort of a part-time or temporary thing, and as those steps are reached and completed, it could sort of open up another window of opportunity for you down the road. Could be more there than you think. So Libra, keep your eyes and ears open. Do not assume that your life is going to stay the same. I do think that you're going to be around other people who are noticing your specific talents. And the biggest talent that every Libra has is charm. You know, you don't hear a bad word coming out of their mouths. Libras can talk to anybody. They can get along with anybody. Well, the moon and Jupiter, which rules communication, trining your sun, it rules short communications. And so if you were sort of going along as a communication, as part of a communication team, somebody else, remember, who not only is the boss, but has the power of the purse, somebody could say that your talents are just what they need right now. And I hope you listen to them, Libra, because they're right. And besides, it would open up a new world for you, new opportunity to expand. Yeah, and you have absolutely nothing to lose by saying yes, so I hope you do. All right, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, your sign doesn't have any planets in it, but it's loaded with potential. And that is because Mars, your own ruler, is in Cancer, trining your sun. It's been doing that for weeks. And so if you haven't moved, you could be planning to move, and it would be a move sort of back home, or to a place or an area that you used to live in before. And perhaps when you were growing up as a child, and it would work out really well. Yes, it would be a lot of work, but there would be more money coming your way, Scorpio, for you to be able to make that move if you wanted to. Maybe you're saying to yourself, well, I'm not sure that it can be done right now, maybe in the summer, or maybe in a few months or something, I don't know. But the fact that there could be money coming in that you could set aside for that. Moving costs money, and that would be good. If you only just set aside and planned it, that could work out really well for you right now. And because the planets in Pisces, which are under duress because they're part of 5 planets in mutable signs that are squaring each other, by themselves, the planets in Pisces, Saturn, retrograde Mercury, retrograde Venus, and the lucky north node of the moon are all trining your sign. And all of those planets in Pisces are in the last decan of Pisces, which is subruled by your sign. It's subruled by the Mars and Pluto that rule Scorpio. And so something going on behind the scenes in your life, Scorpio, is much more important than, I don't think too many people know about it, but it's much more important to you than people realize. And I don't think you're saying anything either. but you know it's real important to you. And so you'll have to decide, what you're going to do about things. And as long as Mars, the planet of energy, is trining your sun, you'll have the energy for it. And as long as Saturn, that planet of time, and Venus, a planet of partnership and love and compromise, maybe if you're in some sort of sticky situation that has not been resolved, maybe in time it could work out. I still think you've got to move ahead of you, Scorpio. And I can't pinpoint the day and the hour when that happens, but I think it's going to happen. And I hope you are contemplating doing that soon, because Mars will move out of Cancer. It won't be, it's been trining your sun for a long time, but it'll go into Leo, and then it'll start squaring your sun. Then you are looking at some trouble. So if you were going to make an important move, do it before Mars leaves Cancer, so they can help you out. And before those planets in Pisces leave as well, because they're helping you out. And there'll be some more money coming your way. So this is a time, Scorpio, for you to sort of get up and get things going. It'll do you a lot of good. But you have to be true to yourself. You have to understand that, it's the truth that matters now. So don't repeat a mistake from the past, or connected to people from the past, because no one can go back in time. We all can only move forward. So I hope you do. All right, what does it mean to a Sagittarian? Well, Sagittarius, there isn't anything in your sign, Sagittarius, but it's a mutable sign. It is being opposed by the moon and Jupiter, your own ruler, in Gemini. That means you're not going to quite get something that you want right now. You could get part of it maybe, but it would still be, I think you're going to have to make an effort to get something right. So even if somebody came along and said, oh yes, you could just have something your way, they would put conditions on it, and they would say, well, you can have it your way after you do this and this and this and this. And if I were you, I'd listen to that, Sagittarius. If you want something bad enough, well, okay. If they're putting sort of strings on some sort of approval of a future idea of yours, well, why don't you go along with it? Because at least you'd end up with what you want. It's just that you'd have to take a few other steps before you got there. And then the planets in Pisces, Saturn, a retrograde Mercury, a retrograde Venus, and the north node of the moon are all squaring your sun. And so you can't get everything your own way right now, Sagittarius. There are only two planets that are trining your sun are duds. And they are the Sun and Neptune in Aries. And you would think that the trine would do you some good. It can do you some good as far as as illuminating something that's got future potential for you, Sagittarius. Okay, so if you're thinking down the road of something new in the future, that would be fine. You could be thinking, oh, I got to try to get it right so I can do that. That's fine. But the Sun and Neptune, which is a planet that makes you kid yourself sometimes, even though they're trining your sun, they have no backup whatsoever, and there's nothing in your sign either, Sagittarius. There's nothing in the other fire signs. And the ruler of Aries is Mars, and it is squaring those two planets in Aries. That's why they're duds right now. Mars is stronger than either the Sun or Neptune in Pisces. But the combination of the Sun, which is pretty dynamic, I mean, it's got a lot of energy. The fact that Neptune is there, which can make things a little bit shady or a little bit nebulous, or needing, can make people kid themselves about things. Just because those two planets are trining your sun, I wouldn't take anything too much for granted right now, Sagittarius. If somebody is promising you the moon, you better get it written down, signed, sealed, and notarized before you believe it. Because there would be a hitch. There would be something that they didn't tell you that you might regret later on. So you need to be a little bit careful what you do. As I'm telling everyone, take small steps this week. Just small ones, if you can. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, Uranus in Taurus is trining your sun. But there are other things going on that can sort of put a stopper on some of your plans right now. Remember, we're all trying to get something right now. It's just going to be that we're trying to do that under sticky terms or in a sticky situation, and not everyone is agreeing. So, you know, a big deal's not going to be resolved at the moment. It's just not going to happen. Even if somebody says it's going to, it's not going to happen now. And so you have to pretty much, Capricorn, try to sit back right now and sort of play it safe. And the reason why is that Mars is in Cancer and it is opposing your sun sign. It's been doing that for quite a while now. And that means there can be arguments or fights or concerns with other family members or about real estate issues, something like that. And they can be bothering you a little bit. And, you know, I would not overreact to that, Capricorn. I also would not agree. Mars opposing your sun sign, this isn't the time for you to agree to something on somebody else's terms. It really isn't. They know what they want. They do not care what you want. Mars is opposing your sun sign. That's not good. And then instead, the Sun and Neptune are in Aries, and they are squaring your sun sign, which means that somebody else has a red-hot idea of something new they want to start. They aren't exactly telling you the whole story about it, and they don't exactly have the money for all of that. But, you know, they've got great ideas, and they're hoping that if they just sell you on them more and more and more, that you'll agree. And that's a mistake that they're making, not you. And that's why the Sun and Neptune are duds right now. They just have no backup, and Mars is squaring them. But Mars is opposing your Sun as well. And so this is not the time for you to agree. And this is not the time for you to sign on the dotted line about anything, Capricorn. And that may have something to do with investments or your financial matters. If I were you, I wouldn't change things too much right now. Yeah, if something looks a little stormy, you could probably ride out the storm better than risk losing something. Capricorns risk averse. They do not like to take risks. And so my advice this week is, especially for you, Capricorn, take just small steps. And you may come out a little better with just some small steps right now. And don't let anybody push you around or tell you you've got to do something. You know, you're just going to have to say, oops, I hear my phone ring somewhere, or oops, I've got a doctor's appointment. Just get out of there, Capricorn. And I wouldn't take too many chances this week, no matter what. And as far as even agreeing to something that costs more, I'd put that on hold a little bit too. Even if you could afford it, maybe you need to look that over a little bit more before you agree. Okay, well, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius. This is a time, Aquarius, when you can have some financial problems you're facing right now. Remember, we're all trying to get something right, and it could involve people with different opinions that are creating a sticky situation that we can get somewhat caught in right now. But as we're waiting for the darn sticky situation to get resolved, there are some ways that, you know, you can sort of go around that a little bit. And Aquarius, you're one of the signs that could go around a problem right now. And the reason why is you have Pluto in your sign. Yes, Uranus in Taurus is squaring it. Uranus is your own ruler. It's been squaring your sun sign for 6 years. It's got one more year of that left. And so I would not take any risk with any of your investments or any real estate matter. Just hang in there, Aquarius. Just hang in there for right now. Because one thing is that you sort of know where you are now, but you don't exactly know where you would end up if you are agreeing to anything that's a little chancy right now. So don't do that. You know, just sort of sit something out. But on the other hand, it is possible that you could form a new partnership. And it is possible that you could start something part-time or temporary right now, or to even just take a short trip. All of that would work out beautifully. And also, Aquarius, if you have an idea for something in the future that you've been sort of mentally tinkering with, and you'd like to go a little step further and do something about that, maybe buy the materials to invent something, or maybe set aside a workspace where you could work a little bit more on something, you ought to do that, Aquarius, because the moon and Jupiter and Gemini are trining your sun, and they're all trining the sign of Libra as well. You could pick up a new partner right now, and also you could start something that's temporary or part-time, but it would be with other people that are a little bit excited about the idea that you've got too. There would be good communication. Gemini rules communication, and the moon and Jupiter are there, trining your sun. So for sure, Aquarius, you need to get out of the house, and you need to start interacting with more people. They will love to see you. And you don't have to sign on the dotted line with anything, but I do think that this is a pretty good time for you to line up a potential new partner, or to line up a new project, even if it's temporary or short time. You could line those things up while you're waiting for a sticky situation to work itself out, because we do want to get things right. It's going to be a little work right now, because even the mutable signs, people who are generally real easygoing, even they are not agreeing on things right now. So we have to do our best. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Well, Pisces, this is a time, Pisces, when I think that an old love can return. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Just about made it through the whole show without a cough. Darn it. But because Venus is retrograde in your sign, and then Mercury, the planet of the mind, is retrograde in your sign as well, and Saturn is there, and that lucky north node of the moon is tucked in with all of those planets, because they're all just in the last decan of your sign, which is sub-ruled by Mars and Pluto that rules Scorpio. There is the possibility that somebody you already know is coming back to you and saying, well, hey, I've been thinking this over. Remember, Mercury's in your sign, and let's communicate more, or let's try to revive something here, or let's form some sort of a contract. We should have done this before. I would take that all with a grain of salt right now, Pisces. These planets are retrograde. Venus and Mercury are retrograde. Something that should have been done before needs to be completed. You don't need to start something new, Pisces. You need to wrap it up, and really sort of wrap it up, tie it with a bow, and be done with it. And the reason why is that Mars is trining in Cancer, is trining your sun. There is a possibility that you could be making a move, but it wouldn't be back to a relationship that you'd had in the past. And the reason why is because Venus and Mercury are retrograde. So a past relationship could show up on your doorstep, Pisces. But if I were you, I would not prolong the visit. And on top of that, after a while, you need to be a little too busy and say, I'm sorry, I've got other things to do, and invite them to leave, or else you leave, one or the other, because you can't go back in time. And also, it's too late. Now, why would it be too late, Pisces, if somebody's coming back to you and saying, oh, well, now I agree with this, or oh, let's do this your way, or oh, everything's fine with me, how about you? Pisces, why are they saying that now? In other words, it's too little, too late. And the reason why it's too little and too late is because you've changed, Pisces. The strongest planet in your sign is actually Saturn, because Saturn's the only one that's not retrograde. Saturn is direct. And somebody who comes back and tries to sort of revive the fire of past memories to get you going back in the past, Pisces, it's going to turn to cold ashes. It's not going to light up. It's going to turn to cold ashes. Because you've been there and you've done that. And it's you that's changed. It's you that's gone forward. Mars is trining your sun. Saturn is in your sun sign. These two malefic planets have been working together beautifully for months now. And that means that you've changed. You've developed some backbone. You have developed some firm resolve. You actually know what you want to do. And, you know, you need to keep going straight forward. But not with the ghosts of past times. Not with people that you've known forever that are all associated with your past. Pluto is in Aquarius right behind your sun sign, and it is very slowly headed your way. You need to go into tomorrow. If you are saying to yourself, oh, but I don't have the money, well, that money might come, Pisces. There is a possibility. You know, all the planets in your sign are sub-ruled by Scorpio's rulers, and they're all trining Scorpio. And Mars is trining Scorpio, and your sun. There's more money around somewhere, Pisces. And it doesn't have to come from somebody who's coming out of the shadows of the past and saying, oh, now let's do things right. Or now everything's okay. Really? Why is it only okay now? Why wasn't it okay before? You have to sort of, don't let your mind cloud up right now, Pisces. Keep it focused on the future. And it'll be a future dream or goal of yours that you've had for a long, long time. And I don't think it involves voices from the past. So don't listen. That's what I'm saying. Believe in yourself. And believe that whatever you're dreaming of or whatever you want or whatever your future holds, you're going to make it. You're going to make it. I mean, Saturn is in your sign and Mars is trining it. It doesn't, as far as backbone goes, Pisces, you're going to shock people with how much of it you've got now. Pisces are real nice people. They can even say no nicely. Some people can't do that, but Pisces can. And so, if I were you, I would tactfully tell them that you're too busy to do anything right now and you've got other plans and they can't be changed and blah, blah, blah. And then go do what you're deciding you want to do. And do it. I would really do it now that you've got these two heavy-duty planets working really well together. Mars in Cancer trining Saturn in your own sign. And Saturn is the only direct planet you've got in your sign. So you don't have to repeat the past. What you've got to do is you've got to make something that is a strong talent or a strong dream of yours. Get out there and get going. And now's the time. So good luck. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in, and thank you for the new subscribers that have signed on. I hope you tell your friends about the show. And until then, I'll see you next week right here on the Karen Campbell YouTube channel for STARBORN. And we'll talk about other good things next week. Thanks a lot. Bye.